Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Udiriet Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shlok Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 31, Narad instructs the Prachetas, text number 5 onwards. So Prachetas had seen Narad Muni approaching them. They got up, they paid obeisances, and they asked questions. Prachetas uchuhu swagatam te surashe adya dishtya no darshanam gata tav chankramanam brahman abhyaya yatha ravihe. All the Prachetas began to address the great sage Narad. O great sage of Brahman, we hope you met with no disturbances while coming here. It is due to our great fortune that we are now able to see you. By the traveling of the sun, people are relieved from the fear of the darkness of night, a fear brought about by thieves and rogues. Similarly, your traveling is like the sun's, for you drive away all kinds of fear. Very nicely put by Prachetas. Because of the night's darkness, everyone is afraid of rogues and thieves, especially in great cities. People are often afraid to go out on the streets, and we understand that even in a great city like New York, people do not like to go out at night. More or less, when it is night, everyone is afraid, either in the city or in the village. However, as soon as the sun rises, everyone is relieved. Even the sun is not fully up yet. Even if we get the glimpse of the sun, everyone gets relieved because of thieves and all the rogues. They run away with this little light. Similarly, this material world is dark by nature. Everyone is afraid of danger at every moment. But when one sees a devotee like Narad, all fear is relieved. Just as the sun disperses darkness, the appearance of a great sage like Narad disperses ignorance. When one meets Narad or his representative, a spiritual master, one is freed from all anxiety brought about by ignorance. And everybody is afraid in this material world because of ignorance. Ignorance of our real position and ignorance that I am this body, and if something happens to this body or the byproducts of this body, then how am I going to live? My whole goal of life is to maintain this body, take care of this body. That is all ignorance. And because of this ignorance, we are always fearful. And as soon as we meet a real bona fide spiritual master like Narad Muni or its representative, that ignorance is gone. All the anxiety is gone, all the fear is gone. And that's when we feel completely relaxed. Yada dishtam bhagavata shive nadhokshajena cha tadgriheshu prasaktanam prayashah kshapitam prabho. O Master, may we inform you that because of our being overly attached to family affairs, we almost forgot the instructions we received from Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. Remaining in family life is a kind of concession for sense enjoyment. One should know that sense enjoyment is not required, but one has to accept sense enjoyment in as much as one has to live. As confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Kamasya na Indriya Priti, one has to become a Goswami and control his senses. One should not simply use his senses for sense gratification. Rather, the senses should be employed just as much as required for maintaining body and soul together. Srila Rupa Goswami recommends anasaktasya vishyan yatharham upayunjita. One should not be attached to sense objects, but should accept sense enjoyment as much as required, no more. If one wishes to enjoy the senses more than required, he becomes attached to family life, which means bondage. All the Prachetas admitted their fault in remaining in household life. So Rupa Goswami says one should accept sense enjoyment as much as is required. Even Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yatha Vihara. Eating also, it should be regulated. Sense enjoyment should be regulated, not like no sense enjoyment. Regulated means within limits. That's it. And the Prachetas are admitting their fault in remaining in household life, and they are saying, "Oh, we just got into too much sense enjoyment. So please explain to us." Of course, it is their humility only, because they were, by blessings of the Lord, they were never going to forget their real position. But out of humility, they are asking Narad Muni. Tanna pradyot teyadhyatman ajnanam tatvartha darshanam yenanjasa tarishyama dustaram bhavasagaram. Dear Master, kindly enlighten us in transcendental knowledge, which may act as a torchlight by which we may cross the darkness of material existence. The Prachetas requested Narad to enlighten them in transcendental knowledge. Generally, when a common man meets a saintly person, he wishes to get some material benediction. However, the Prachetas were not interested in material benefit, for they had enjoyed all this sufficiently. Nor did they want the fulfillment of their material desires. They were simply interested in crossing the ocean of nescience. Everyone should be interested in getting out of these material clutches. So clutches means once it gets its hold on us, it just never lets it go. Everyone should approach a saintly person in order to be enlightened in this connection. One should not bother a saintly person to get blessings from material enjoyment. Generally, householders receive saintly persons to get their blessings, but the real aim is to be happy in this material world. Asking such material benedictions is not recommended in the Shastras. But generally, 99% of the time, this is what people ask for. Material benefits. But material benefits only increase our entanglement in the material world, in the karmic cycle, actions and reactions. That's all it does. But we believe that, oh, I got this mercy of the Guruji or of the Lord, and he has given me so much material enjoyment. Okay, from it I'll give a little for some spiritual activities, so I am not guilty of over sense enjoyment. But what it does actually is make us think we are the controllers and proprietors and enjoyers. So it's not actually a benediction. Actual benediction is when somebody blesses us with spiritual enjoyment, spiritual advancement. Whether we get the material or not, doesn't matter. The real guru is one who cuts our entanglement, the ropes of our entanglement to this material world by his instructions, not that he increases our attachments. That's a real guru. Maitreya Vacha, iti pracheta samprishto Bhagwan Narado Muni Bhagavati Uttam Shloka Avishtatmam Pravin Ripan. The great sage Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, being thus petitioned by the Prachetas, the supreme devotee Narad, who is always absorbed in the thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, began to reply. In this verse, Bhagwan Narada indicates that Narada is always absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavati Uttam Shlok Avisht Atma. Avisht Atma. Narada has no other business than thinking of Krishna, talking of Krishna, and preaching about Krishna. Therefore, he is sometimes called Bhagavan. Bhagavan means one who possesses all opulences. When a person possesses Bhagavan within his heart, he is also sometimes called Bhagavan. So Narad Muni always has Krishna in his heart, and so he can be called Bhagavan. Of course, we can say, I also have Krishna in my heart as Paramatma is sitting there, but am I aware of it? Am I always talking about it? Am I always thinking about him? Am I always working for him? No. But Narad Muni, always. That's why Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Sakshat Dharitvena Samasta Shastra. In every Shastra, the spiritual master is accepted directly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This does not mean that the spiritual master or a saintly person like Narad Muni has actually become the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he is accepted in this way because he possesses the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart constantly. As described here, Avishta Atma, when one is simply absorbed in the thought of Krishna, one is also called Bhagavan. Bhagavan possesses all opulence. If one possesses Bhagavan within the heart, always, does it not automatically possess all opulence also? In that sense, a great devotee like Narad can be called Bhagavan. However, we cannot tolerate when a rascal or impostor is called Bhagavan. One must possess either all opulences or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, who possesses all opulences. Then one can be called Bhagavan. Not that one calls Sai Baba as Bhagavan, or this Baba as Bhagavan, that Baba Bhagavan. They're not Bhagavan. So that's where Srila Prabhupada was very heavy in this regard. You cannot just call anybody and everybody Bhagavan. And in fact, he had objected to people being called Mahatma also. Because according to Bhagavad Gita, Mahatma means Mahatmanas tu Mampartha Devim Prakritim Ashuta. Mahatma means one who has taken shelter of the Devi Prakriti of Krishna, means the spiritual energy of Krishna, not under the material energy. He cannot be under the material. That is a definition of Mahatma according to Krishna. So, but these days it's all politics. That's what rules, not the real knowledge. Text 9. Naraduvacha tajjanma tani karmani tadayustan manovacha niranam yen hi vishvatma sevyate haririshvaraha. The great sage Narad said, when a living entity is born to engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Controller, his birth, all his fruitive activities, his lifespan, his mind, and his words are all factually perfect. Actually, that is the only reason they are perfect. Otherwise, they are all imperfect. Unless until we engage ourselves in the devotional service with the Lord, then everything becomes perfect. In this verse, the word Nrinam is very important. There are many other births besides human birth. But Narad Muni is here in especially speaking of human birth. Among human beings, there are different types of men. Of these, those who are advanced in spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness are called Aryans. Among Aryans, one who engages in the devotional service of the Lord is the most successful in life. The word Nrinam indicates that lower animals are not expected to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. But in perfect human society, everyone should engage in the devotional service of the Lord. It does not matter whether one is born poor or rich, black or white. There may be so many material distinctions for one who takes birth in human society, but everyone should engage in the Lord's devotional service. At the present moment, civilized nations have given up God consciousness for economic development. They are actually no longer interested in advancing in God consciousness. Formerly, their forefathers were engaged in executing religious principles. Whether one is Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, Jewish, or whatever, everyone has some religious institution. Real religion, however, means becoming God conscious. It is particularly mentioned herein that birth is successful if an interest in Krishna consciousness is taken. Activity is successful if it results in serving the Lord. Philosophical speculation or mental speculation is successful when engaged in understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The senses are worth possessing when engaged in the service of the Lord. Actually, devotional service means engaging the senses in the service of the Lord. At the present moment, our senses are not purified. Therefore, our senses are engaged in the service of society, friendship, love, politics, sociology, and so on. However, when the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, one attains bhakti or devotional service. In the next verse, these matters will be more clearly explained. So this is the perfect usage of the senses, to engage every sense in the service of the Lord. This is what Ambarish Maharaj showed by his example, established it. Every sense, every part of the body can be and should be utilized in the service of the Lord. Otherwise, it's not perfect. It's just like every part of our body is supposed to serve this body. If the finger, Prabhupada has given this example, it's a funny example. If the finger is there, and if I have some itching here, and the finger goes and scratches it, that's a perfection of the finger. If the itching is there and finger doesn't go and scratch it, then what's the point of having that finger? Of course, the finger has to do other things also, but point is, it has to do its service to the body. When one great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the Lord, he said all his desires were fulfilled. He said, today everything is auspicious. Today my birthplace and neighborhood are completely glorified. Today my senses from my eyes down to my toes are fortunate. Today my life is successful because I have been able to see the lotus feet that are worshipped by the goddess of fortune. Actually, that is the perfection of eyes, perfection of senses, perfection of birthplace and neighborhood also, that devotee is saying. Amazing. Kim janma bhi stribhir veh shokra savitra yagya kah karma bhirva trai prokta hai punso api vibudha yusha. A civilized human being has three kinds of birth. The first birth is by a pure father and mother, and this birth is called birth by semen. The next birth takes place when one is initiated by the spiritual master, and this birth is called Savitra, means initiation. The third birth, called Yagik, takes place when one is given the opportunity to worship Lord Vishnu. Despite the opportunities for attaining such births, even if one gets a lifespan of a demigod, if one does not actually engage in the service of the Lord, everything is useless. Similarly, one's activities may be mundane or spiritual, but they are useless if they are not meant for satisfying the Lord. So the word Shokra Janma means taking birth by seminal discharge. Animals can take their birth in this way too. However, a human being can be reformed from the Shokra Janma as recommended in the Vedic civilization. Before the birth takes place, or before father and mother unite, there is a ceremony called Garbhadan Sanskar, which must be adopted. This Garbhadan Sanskar is especially recommended for higher caste, especially the Brahmin caste. It's said in the Shastras that if the Garbhadan Sanskar is not practiced among the higher castes, the entire family becomes Shudra. Wow. So higher caste or Brahmin caste, not the caste by the last name, by caste by Varnashram system. But if it is not done, then the whole family becomes Shudra. So that's why in Kali Yuga, Mahaprabhu said, Kalo Shudra Sambhava, everybody is a Shudra. It is also stated that in this age of Kali, everyone is Shudra due to the absence of the Garbhadan Sanskar. This is a Vedic system. According to the Pancharatric system, however, even though everyone is a Shudra due to the absence of the Garbhadan Sanskar, if a person has but a little tendency to become Krishna conscious, he should be given the chance to elevate himself to the transcendental platform of devotional service. Our Krishna consciousness movement adopts this Pancharatra Vidhi as advised by Srila Sanatana Goswami, who says, as bell metal, when mixed with mercury, is transformed to gold, a person, even though not golden pure, can be transformed into a Brahman or Dvija simply by the initiation process. So the initiation, which is called Savitra Janma. So Sanatana Goswami mentions, as bell metal can be transformed to gold if it is mixed with mercury. So similarly, a person who is Shudra, who is not pure, but by the initiation process, he can be converted into a Dvija or a Brahman. Thus, if one is initiated by a proper person, he can be accepted as twice born immediately. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we therefore offer the student his first initiation and allow him to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. By chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra regularly and following the regulative principles, one becomes qualified to be initiated as a Brahman. Because unless one is qualified Brahman, he cannot be allowed to worship Lord Vishnu. This is called Yagik Janma. So Shokra Janma, by seminal discharge, Savitra Janma, first initiation, and Yagik Janma is called second initiation. In our Krishna consciousness society, unless one is twice initiated, first by chanting Hare Krishna and second by the Gayatri Mantra, he is not allowed to enter the kitchen or deity room to execute duties. However, when one is elevated to the platform on which he can worship the deity, his previous birth does not matter. So this is what the answer to so many people when they ask, how come Prabhupada gave Brahman initiation and Sannyas initiation to people who are not born in the Varnashram system or who are not born in India? But Prabhupada always quoted this text from Hari Bhakti Vilas, that if they take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and follow the process for training, proper training, then they can be given Brahman initiation like Gayatri Mantra, sacred thread, and they can also be given sannyas. It's according to the scriptures. So his previous birth does not matter. But then that person and anybody who's given initiation, he has to follow the rules and regulations properly. That is very important. Even if one is born in the family of a Chanda, if one engages in the devotion service to the Lord, he becomes best of the Brahmins. But even a Brahman who is devoid of devotion service is on the level of the lowest dog eater. If a person is advanced in devotional service, it doesn't matter whether he was born in a Chandal family, he becomes purified. As Prahlad Maharaj says, even if one is a Brahman and is qualified with all Brahminical qualifications, he is considered degraded if he is averse to worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if a person is attached to the service of the Lord, he becomes glorified, even if he is born in a Chandal family. In a Chandal family, this is the lowest of the births. But even that person can be purified. Without devotional service, even a proud Brahman cannot deliver himself, and what to speak of his family. In many instances in the Shastras, it is seen that even a Brahman has become a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Mlecha, or non-Brahman. And there are many instances of one's being born in a Kshatriya or Vaishya or even lower, and in the 18th year attaining elevation to the Brahminical platform by the process of initiation. So this is a real process, and it makes sense because soul is always pure. So, okay, he got a body, he got some sanskaras from previous lifetimes. So he is born as a Chandal. His activities are of a Chandal. But if he adopts a proper procedure, he can become a Brahman. Better than Brahman, he can become a Vaishnava. As far as the duration of the life of demigods, concerning Lord Brahma, it is said, the duration of one day of Brahma is 1,000 times greater than 4 yugas. Similarly, is Brahma's one night. So Brahma lives for 100 years of such days and nights. The word Vibhudhayusha indicates that even if one gets a long lifespan, his lifespan is useless if he is not a devotee. A living entity is the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord, and unless he comes to the platform of devotion service, his lifespan, good birth, glorious activities, and everything else are null and void because he's not a devotee. So being a devotee and taking up the process seriously, it can elevate one to even higher platform, to much higher platform. Even same Narad Muni as a spiritual master, and when he met this hunter who later became Valmiki, and he compiled Ramayana. Who was he before? He was a hunter. He was killing people, and he was wearing the mala of their skulls and the bones. That's what Valmiki Rishi used to do. And he could not even chant the names of Ram. He was so sinful. And Narad Muni had to devise, because the expert spiritual master knows how to elevate his follower, elevate his disciple. He said, okay, just chant Mara, 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 Mara. You cannot chant Rama, you can chant Mara. And this is what Valmiki did. And later on, Mara became Rama, 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 Rama. So expert spiritual master knows. And it's the mercy of the Lord, the potency of the holy names of the Lord, and then the mercy of the spiritual master that the person, a follower, attracts the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And then nothing can stop him. So this is the right process that Prabhupada has adopted. And based on this verse and other verses of Hari Bhakti Vilas and other scriptures, Prabhupada adopted that, and he gave Brahman initiation to even people not born in India, not just Brahman, Sannyas Diksha also. And he even revolutionized by giving Gayatri Mantra to the ladies. He gave Brahman Diksha. He didn't give the sacred thread to ladies, because he said that is not possible, but he gave Gayatri Mantra and he let the ladies do the deity worship outside India. And in fact, most of the head pujaris outside India are Matajis. So this was really revolutionary that Prabhupada did. And he got criticized for it, but He said, depending upon, based on this verse, these verses, I'm doing the right thing. And him being an acharya, him being a very powerful acharya, he could do that. Of course, we just have to follow his teachings and his example. We cannot make up our own system. So we just follow. Okay, so I guess we can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?